get this party started.
He's shining a light in the dark corners of our media.
You are fake news.
Our government.
Handling of classified documents.
And our culture.
Don't trust anyone.
It's common sense amidst chaos.
Let's go.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome.
Here's your host, Ike Wingate.
Hello, my friends. Welcome to the show. And boy, is it a show that you don't want to miss, because the insurrection in Minneapolis is mounting, and we may be on the cusp of the Insurrection Act being invoked, and it's leading some to fear that we are on the verge of some type of civil war over immigration, and that is not an overstatement, and we're going to explain why so many are seeing that as a real possibility at this point. Even more fraud has been exposed in Minnesota, and we will bring that to you. And violence against ICE continues, including violence and breaking and entering against FBI agents. And it begs the question, will Trump invoke the Insurrection Act? He is talking about it. We'll bring you what he has said. And Trump also rolled out a new health care plan today that puts the power back in the hands of the people, namely money. And that's going to make some of the big health care executives and workers very unhappy. It is going to put the power back in the hands of the people to make decisions on their health and the money that is allocated toward that. We will go over that shortly. Plus, Kamala Harris has a new house in Malibu, right? She burned the Democrat Party down, blew through $1 billion plus, some even say $2 billion. And she's out there writing a book about her mistakes and making money and then buying a big house in Malibu. I mean, it's the American dream, right? She didn't fall from no coconut tree. She's unburdened by what has been with her mistakes and is going to be living it up in Malibu. And Candace Owens continues on the crazy train. Choo choo. I mean, she's the conductor of the crazy train. My gosh. We play these clips for you thinking, all right, yeah. I mean, she's kind of run her course, and then she goes and one-ups herself on the crazy train, and we're going to bring you the latest epiphany. Boy, does she have a lot of epiphanies from Candace, and, you know, it involves time traveling. Yes, that's not a joke, and that is what we will show you coming up, and another win for Trump in the courts as well. So a lot to get to today. You can help us by giving this live a thumbs up and reposting it, sharing it to your followers. If you're watching on X, you can heart the post and repost it. And, of course, you can do the same if you're watching with our friends on Right Side Broadcast Network. Heart the post and repost. Make sure you follow me on my X feed, because I'm going to be consolidating some things. You might be watching us on Rumble or even YouTube, or where else? Facebook. I would encourage you to follow me on X and follow me on Instagram. My username is the same on both. It is Ike Wingate, all one word. Please follow me, because we have some news coming soon. Not today, not yet, but you're going to want to be tuned in and following me on those platforms to know what is happening in the future. Big things, bigger things than I expected are around the corner. And it's thanks in large part to you and your support, your viewership. You have helped me along the way for the past 3 years to get better at what I'm doing, to encourage and support and just entertaining me, making it worthwhile. I've lost a lot of money doing this as a self-funded operation, but many of you have supported this mission to help us cover our costs. So it looks like all the blood, sweat, and tears and lost dollars are all going toward a big win, and you are part of that if you've been part of this show. And so I want to say thank you off the top. But again, I'm not trying to tease or, make this dramatic. I'm just not at liberty yet to share what is coming. But hopefully next week. You really want to make sure you're locked in here next week and you're following me on X and you have your notifications on and all that kind of stuff, okay? All right. Also, keep your comments coming in the chat. I see Bree. I see this old vet. Well, that's a blast from the past. Hey, better late than never, right? It's great having you here. We've got our various trolls in the chat on YouTube. Hey, there's some great patriots in there on YouTube. Don't let those trolls go unanswered with the truth. Make sure you address their heinous comments. Just a ton of vitriol, just nasty, just toxic. Don't let those comments go unanswered. Make sure those people that are in their mom's basement on their keyboard cowboy, warriors, whatever you want to call them, make sure you are combating them with truth. And I appreciate it in advance. Let's talk about this potential insurrection and the crazies continue to come out in Minnesota and Minneapolis. It isn't, it's no accident that the recurring or reoccurring crazy, if you want to call them protests, these are far beyond protests, but these crazy riots continue to occur in the same heavily Democrat-led areas of our country. And it's just, I guess it's not really surprising that the same place that tried to burn the city down after George Floyd is burning the city down because ICE is trying to do their job. We've gone over this many times. I don't like the idea of a secret police, okay, or people that you don't know who they are that are enforcing laws. But this wouldn't have to be happening with ICE concealing their identities if people weren't trying to kill them. And they literally have been trying to kill them. There's no question there. Doxing them, putting their identities online, threatening their families. What would you do if you were just trying to do your job and your very life was at risk because people are too delusional and immature and not emotionally developed to handle the fact that laws must be enforced? What would you do? I think you'd probably have to conceal your identity. Here's what President Trump has to say. If the corrupt politicians of Minnesota don't obey the law and stop the professional agitators and insurrectionists from attacking the patriots of ICE who are only trying to do their job, I will institute the Insurrection Act, which many presidents have done before me, and quickly put an end to the travesty that is taking place in the once great state. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Representative Clay Higgins tweeted this out. Buckle up, 10 U.S. Code 252, the use of militia and armed forces to enforce federal authority. When the president considers that unlawful obstructions, combinations, or assemblages or rebellion against the authority of the United States make it impractical to enforce the laws of the United States in any state by the ordinary course of judicial proceedings, he may call into federal service such of the militia of any state and use such of the armed forces as he considers necessary to enforce those laws or to suppress the rebellion. It's in the Constitution. It's been there from the beginning. How many times has the Insurrection Act been used in the U.S.? Well, ask Grok. I believe I looked this up a few months ago because people were calling for the Insurrection Act because this is precisely what's occurring and why the kind of moment this act was created. It's been used approximately 30 times. I'll just let you see what I'm seeing. 30 times in U.S. history, according to authoritative sources and blah, blah, blah. It's been used by 15 to 17 presidents, depending on exact counting of borderline cases. The most recent was in 1992 when George H.W. Bush deployed federal troops during the L.A. riots following the Rodney King verdict. And Abraham Lincoln used it. George Washington used it. I'm remembering now. LBJ used it. Roosevelt used it, I believe, Teddy. And so it's been used many times. Precedent has been set. It's been in the Constitution from the beginning. And so you very well might be seeing this Insurrection Act invoked. Is it something I want to happen? Like I'm excited for it? No, but I don't believe there's any other recourse at this point because of what these agitators have done and the Democrat leadership in places like Minneapolis and the state of Minnesota for inciting and supporting and encouraging this kind of behavior. Now, they try to walk it back. Oh, we're better than this. Tim Walz is sort of doing an about face now. But look at what happened last night in Minneapolis. Rioters successfully broke open a weapons locker in an FBI vehicle. They stole a rifle. They stole ammo. They stole private paperwork. Okay. Just animal-like behavior.
Almost there.
Oh, wow. Okay, and so it's just like a free-for-all grab bag at this point. Everybody just helps themselves. There's a rifle, an FBI rifle there. This guy gets. He's got the face tattoos. That's a serious guy. And paperwork, other items. They just broke into this vehicle, broke into the locker, and stole it all, taking the various patches that are in there. And so, here's what I love. Some idiot like this. If this is what you're saying, gens for life, that didn't happen. That's completely false. It did happen. It absolutely happened. This is video proof of it. You think this is AI? If this is what you're talking about, I don't know if you're addressing someone else. In that case, I apologize. You're not an idiot. But if you think this is fake, then you are. Here is the DHS Secretary Kristi Noem talking about this break-in that happened last night in Minneapolis.
Out of Minnesota.
No plans to pull out of Minnesota.
How would you describe what you were seeing on the ground there? Would you describe it as an insurrection? And do you believe the president should invoke the Insurrection Act?
I describe it as violent and a violation of the law in many places. I discussed with the president this morning several things that we are dealing with under the department and different operations. We did discuss the Insurrection Act. He certainly has the constitutional authority to utilize that. My hope is that this leadership team in Minnesota will start to work with us to get criminals off the streets.
Okay, so she says they're not going to back down. This is not the clip I wanted, but basically she confirmed that this was, in fact, an FBI vehicle. I'll see if I can find that real quick and show it to you. Let's see.
On that ice officer's condition after he was hit with a shovel. And we're seeing those cars looted in Minnesota. Can you provide an update on what the agency is going to do about that and the concern with the documents that were taken by those?
Well, I believe that those vehicles were FBI vehicles, not our Department of Homeland Security vehicles. So I'm not certain what documents were in there that those criminals may have taken and seen. But I would say that our agent is beat up. He's bruised. He's injured. He's getting treatment, and we're thankful that he made it out alive.
Secretary, no.
Okay, so there you go. That's just totally fake. That never happened. Here's the stupidity we're dealing with here. She's lying, and so are you. Okay, is the video lying? Is the video lying? Please explain the video that just happened that I showed you. This is what we're dealing with here, people, in straight up denial of what's happening. And I see and understand here. And by the way, let me pause here. I don't want to lose my train of thought here. But I want to make sure don't forget to put this fact in there, is the ICE officer who shot Renee Good was treated at the hospital for internal bleeding. So he was hit with enough force to cause internal bleeding. That is from the officials at the top of DHS confirming that. Okay, so you don't believe me? Go do your own research. If everything I'm saying is a lie, I'm showing you this information. Now, I don't have X-rays or an MRI or a CT scan or visual photos of this guy's internal bleeding. So could they have just made it up? Yeah, the doctors could have made it up, and everyone could have made it up. Sure, because nothing is true. I mean, if you're a nihilist like you. Now, back to the point of de-escalation. I see people in there saying, hey, they got to be able to do their jobs, but they should de-escalate this. I saw someone in the comments say they don't need to send 3,000 more agents there. I understand what you're saying. I do. I understand, because that seems to be a reasonable response, but I'll tell you why it's wrong. It's wrong because anytime you have people that are breaking the law, you have people that are assaulting law enforcement officers, you have people that are upset that they're not getting their way and they're resorting to violence, you cannot back down. You must aggressively put an end to it. You must make an example, because otherwise it will continue. It'll get worse and worse and worse. And because these agitators are getting worse and worse and worse, the only answer is to nip it in the bud and to show a larger force of action against it, because it will just get worse. This is the way it works anytime you're dealing with people who are insurrectionists and who are impeding and obstructing. These are terrorists, okay? You don't negotiate with terrorists. You don't back down and say, oh, we're sorry we're making you act like a terrorist. And you say, well, they're not terrorists, they're Americans. Okay, but the same acts that they're doing are that of a terrorist, because they believe the way to get their way is violence. That's terrorism, okay? And you don't negotiate with terrorists. You must show a large show of force to stop it. That's the only course of action. And so I understand where you're coming from and wanting to believe that de-escalating will then cause them to de-escalate. No, it will actually embolden them. They say it worked. We must continue. We can't let up. That's the way it works. The history is pretty clear on that. And so you can't negotiate with terrorists. You've got to shut it down, and shut it down hard. And so that is, a big part of this. A big part of this is the fact that the Minneapolis PD are very short-staffed, by the way, because nobody wants to be a Minneapolis Police Department hardly, because they're totally, paralyzed in what they're able to do. And the department has become a joke because of the leadership, not the officers themselves. And they're not helping ICE. They're not helping to keep the peace for these federal operations, which other states and other cities are helping, which is why you're not seeing this happen. They're keeping it under control. But basically, ICE is out there on their own, and that is why we're seeing what we're seeing. Not because ICE is escalating anything. Of course, when people start to assault them and spit on them and try to take their guns, which we've seen in videos, but of course, maybe you don't believe that. When that kind of stuff happens, I'm sorry, but you mess around, you're going to find out. It isn't ICE's fault that they are increasing their engagement in this situation. That is what their training calls for. That's what law enforcement training calls for, to shut it down and to get the threat under control. That's what's going to continue to happen. If people would leave ICE alone, they would just be out doing their job. And in fact, they used to do that before Trump came. In years past, when ICE was rounding people up under the Obama administration, which, by the way, ICE actually detained more people in 1 year than ICE has so far under Trump. And did people go crazy? No, they did not. You leave them alone, they'll leave you alone. That's just the way it works. And it's the way it has worked up until now because Trump's in office and liberals, whatever Trump does is horrible. And they're trying to create, basically, they're trying to create viral moments and drama and chaos. That's what they're trying to do. Last night, Bill Malugin reporting this, four law enforcement sources reporting another ICE-involved shooting in Minneapolis. ICE was making contact with a target who then allegedly assaulted an officer with a shovel. Shots were fired. The suspect ran back to a house. No info yet. That was very preliminary. We now know more. Photos obtained. An illegal Venezuelan alien smiling from inside the ambulance. Allegedly, ID'd is Julio Cesar Sosa Solis. And federal law enforcement officers conducting a targeted traffic stop in Minneapolis for this Venezuelan illegal immigrant who was released into the country by President Joe Biden in 2022. This guy attempted to evade arrest, fled the scene, crashed into a parked car, and proceeded to flee on foot. Law enforcement pursued him on foot, caught him, attempted to apprehend him when he began to resist and violently assault the officer. They were in a struggle and came to the ground, and then two stupid bystanders came out of a nearby apartment and attacked the law enforcement officer with a snow shovel and a broom handle. The officer was ambushed and attacked by two individuals, and this guy, this Sosa Solis, got loose and began striking the officer with a shovel or broomstick. Fearing for his life and safety as he was being ambushed by three individuals, the officer fired a defensive shot to defend his life, and this guy was hit in the leg. Then all three subjects ran back into the apartment, barricaded themselves inside, and then ICE was able to successfully arrest all three of them, which, guess what? The two that came out of the apartment were also illegal aliens. Too bad. Yeah, he seems really hurt. He's smiling in the ambulance. This is what these ICE officers are up against. Here is the rest of the gang that was arrested. Alfredo Alejandro Ajorna, an illegal alien from Venezuela, illegally entered the U.S. in 23 under the Biden administration. He failed to show up for his immigration hearing and was issued a final order of removal. Gabriel Alejandro Hernandez Ledezema, a criminal alien from Venezuela who illegally entered the U.S. in May 2023 under the Biden administration, marked this illegal alien as a non-enforcement priority, yet he attacked a cop, attacked an ICE agent. Okay? What's interesting is how many of these uninformed people who make decisions on emotions are out defending these people who break the law and assault our officers and law enforcement. And we showed you on our last show the list of these heinous individuals who perpetrated crimes against children of the worst type. And yet people are yelling and screaming at ICE, impeding, obstructing, all for the sake of the worst heinous criminals. People say, there's all right, I'm kicking this person out of the chat. They keep typing the same thing over and over. We're not gonna deal with someone spamming the chat, but basically talking about pedos. And they're trying to say that Trump is protecting pedos or something like that. What you're talking about, the people obstructing ICE are protecting the pedos. Literally. That's what's happening. So miss me with your hypocrisy. And then last night, Tampon Tim, which a lot of the internet just calls tampon now, gave an address. He gave an address to people live, a statewide address calling for ICE agents to be prosecuted for enforcing the law. And of course, now he's trying to back it up. See, I am making a direct appeal to the president. Let's turn the temperature down. Stop this campaign of retribution. This is not who we are. And an appeal to Minnesotans. I know this is scary. We must speak out loudly, urgently, but also peacefully. We cannot fan the flames of chaos. That's what President Trump wants. Okay, so he puts that out today, but last night he put this out.
Help us establish a record of exactly what's happening in our communities. You have an absolute right to peacefully film ICE agents as they conduct these activities. So carry your phone with you at all times. And if you see these ICE agents in your neighborhood, take out that phone and hit record. Help us create a database of the atrocities against Minnesotans, not just to establish a record for posterity, but to bank evidence for future prosecution.
Future prosecution. He is appealing to his citizens to report and try to prosecute ICE agents, calling for them to be prosecuted. This is absurd. They are simply upholding, they are enforcing the law that Congress has put on the books. If you don't like it, go to Congress or get the hell out of the country. It's pretty simple. No one is forcing you to be here. Go to Congress if you don't like it. Well, they don't have to be so mean and so aggressive, and they don't have to have the masks on. Well, I've already addressed the masks. These people aren't going out and accosting people who are not breaking the law. You understand that? The only time you're seeing this escalation and this confrontation is when people are obstructing and impeding. Yes, if somebody has a deportation order or someone is suspected to be an illegal alien, yes, they have orders to remove them. That is their job, and that is the law. That is the law. And this guy, who's a freaking governor, he should know better. He's literally telling people, keep track of them because we're going to get them prosecuted for doing their job, for upholding the law. I mean, when you have a society that doesn't have the understanding of right and wrong and promotes lawlessness, you don't have a society. It's chaos. And it just devolves from there. I mean, look at what happens when you allow this kind of behavior to continue. People set up their own freaking cities inside cities. I mean, we saw this in Portland and other places. And horrible things happened in their little camps. And because authorities stood down, these things got worse and worse and worse. And this is what Tim Walz is promoting. And by the way, he did this live stream and it had so many technical errors. Literally, audio was playing on top of audio. It was a complete debacle. But it's so indicative of anything that Tim Walz touches. Of course, he put out that statement, let's turn the temperature down. You just told people to go after ICE, film them, try to get evidence on them so you can put them in jail. And now you want to have your cake and eat it too and say you're bringing the temperature down? Senator Mike Lee responded and said, Governor, you have bent over backwards to facilitate fraud against the American people, champion defiance of federal laws that secure our country, and encouraged agitators to resist the enforcement of those laws. Your hand is on the thermostat. You're talking about turning the temperature down. You're the one that keeps jacking with the thermostat. You know those people. Leave it alone. Don't touch the thermostat. It's cold in here. It's good for you. Okay, so he's talking out of both sides of his mouth. Both sides of his mouth. He also encouraged students to do a walkout in protest of ICE at the state Capitol building. Students, some parents apparently think this was a good idea for their kids to go to this. How did it end up? They started fighting amongst each other. That's how it ended up. Everything Tim Walz touches with his jazz hands turns to crap. Yeah, this is working out well. Fine, upstanding young people. And great job, Governor Walz, for promoting this kind of crap. And then, of course, it got way out of hand. Again, I'll say it again. Everything that Tim Walz touches with his jazz hands turns to crap. All right, you want to see an example of ICE trying to apprehend someone and what these lunatics are doing? Look at these ICE agents trying to apprehend this person. He's yelling. They're out in the middle of the street. And people, I mean, You imagine trying to do your job in this kind of environment. Honking, yelling, in your face. Now, the fact that ICE really struggled to apprehend this guy is another subject altogether. Okay, so they're trying to apprehend this guy in the street. Okay, so you got people stopping their cars in the middle of the road, trying to see what's happening, and then eventually people stop right up next to them, people honking. I don't know why they're having such a hard time apprehending this guy. You got one uniformed officer, plainclothes ICE agent, rather, and the face concealed. But you got two guys, and they are struggling to apprehend this chubby guy. But this is what they're dealing with. They're trying to do their job, and people are all up on them. Again, you hear the horn honks. Okay, they finally get him on the ground. His partner is, I don't know where his partner went. But again, you got people. I mean, these ICE agents don't know if these people have a gun or a knife or are going to do something. So not only are they trying to apprehend this person, they're dealing with all this ancillary distraction and potential threat. Again, I mean, this guy's crawling down the road and he's riding them like a horse. And again, I mean, look at this. How do you expect someone to be able to do their job with all this interference? Again, I mean, this guy is resisting arrest. I don't know why you're pulling on him like that. And then they just try to shove him in the car. I mean, this is absurd. This is ridiculous that they're having to deal with this. And it just goes on and on for another 2 minutes. I'm going to just skip forward. Again, they lose him. He gets loose. They're trying to put him in the zip ties. I mean, this is kind of terrible. I mean, this guy should be taken down much quicker. But you could argue maybe the distractions are making it more difficult. You know, if they just start punching the dude to get him to submit and subdue him, you know, you're going to have a riot on your hand. But, I mean, this guy is resisting in every definition of the word. And people are all up on him, right next to him, talking to him. Literally, this dumb woman is trying to pull ICE's hand away. So it's just a cluster. So anyway, that is what they're dealing with. And so could you imagine doing your job when that happens? People say, oh, they're escalating. What do you call all of this? And I think they just let the guy go. I don't know why they did that, unless they just said, forget it, we got to get out of here. It's getting too crazy. I don't know. But I think there's maybe some additional training maybe that needs to be done in that case. But again, just showing you the chaos that happens. And of course, in other states where law enforcement is aiding ICE in these operations, you don't have this kind of tomfoolery going on. Take a look at what happens in Florida. This is Jennifer Cruz of Jacksonville. Jennifer disagrees with immigration enforcement, decided to commit a few felonies by getting out of her car and punching a trooper in the face. But unlike Minnesota, we don't put up with this nonsense. Not today, Jennifer. That is what the Attorney General James Othmeyer said in the state of Florida. Okay? Wouldn't you know it? Kind of looks like a liberal white woman. I don't know. They seem to be the most susceptible to the propaganda. All right, so Chris says, not in Florida. Doesn't happen in Florida, right? Adana, I believe is what it says. Dumb leftists care more about illegals. Yeah, and think about the ones they're caring about. I mean, this isn't, in most cases, 7 out of 10 times, these are people with deportation orders and criminals. Okay? And the other 30% are arrested at raids and things where these bad people, the bad guys, are working or something like that. And so they get checked too. And if they're there, I mean, it's just the wrong place at the wrong time. But again, the point is, most of these people, the vast majority of these people are bad hombres. And all of these stupid, uninformed, crazy people that are out there obstructing are literally fighting for the worst of the worst. And that's the irony of it. Divine says, Democrats are so dumb. Yeah, not very smart. Not very smart. Let's see here. Speaking of not very smart, and how about the irony here? Or you could say hypocrisy, okay? Protesters are bothering people who just simply drive SUVs because they think that they are ICE. You understand what I'm saying? Because people are driving SUVs, they're being accused of being ICE. Here's this guy who is a cameraman. He's driving this SUV, and he's getting questioned. Wait, who are you? What are you doing? You're not supposed to be here. Sound familiar? This is the very thing they're protesting. They're protesting ICE agents going up to people and making sure that they are supposed to be here. And if they're not, they're removing them because that's the law. That's the law. That's what they're protesting. They're doing the exact same thing, except the law is not on their side. This is how hypocritical and ridiculous the principles or lack thereof are for these agitators and protesters and liberal leftist lunatics. Take a look.
Here you go. There, like I said, I don't have to do this. I'm happy to do this. That's all. We just got to stop this.
So he's got a lot of camera equipment. I think we can say this isn't right.
Yeah, I'm not. I tried to tell the first lady, nobody believes me. That's all I can do is tell you. I already shot. Listen, first of all, I don't have to do any of that. But
he opened up the back of his SUV, showed him, look, I'm not ICE. And they're asking him to do more stuff. And he's like, look, I don't even have to do this. And I've already showed you, I'm not ICE.
I respect what you all are doing.
I respect what you all are doing. I've been kind.
Yeah, no.
Is that good enough for them? No, they keep pressing the dude, which, by the way, he's being way more accommodating than I would ever be. Look, screw you, man. You don't have any authority over me. I drive an SUV, so what? So do a lot of people.
I really appreciate what you guys are doing. I just don't understand my job and I don't know how to do it.
Were you here yesterday?
Yeah.
Yes, he was here yesterday.
Thank you.
I can testify that. I didn't recognize him.
No, I appreciate your help. Thank you.
I'm not here to help you.
No,
So she says, were you here yesterday? He said, yes. She goes, okay, that's what I thought. I didn't recognize him at first, but yeah, he was here yesterday. The guy says, thank you. I appreciate that. Guess what she says? I'm not here to help you.
The fact that you're in a vehicle like this at this
I
time
get it. But with all due respect,
The fact that, look, a liberal freaking white woman with 8 scarves and a cardigan. Right? I mean, you couldn't draw it up any better. If you made liberal white woman Barbie, this would be the person you would get. But she says, the fact that you're driving this vehicle, how dare you drive an SUV? I mean, don't you understand what we're dealing with here? There's people in SUVs enforcing the law, and you shouldn't be driving an SUV. I mean, why don't you go up to people that are wearing hats and say you shouldn't be wearing hats because ICE wears hats. Law enforcement wears hats. You're going to go after everybody who's driving, a Dodge Charger or whatever the cop car is too? Wait a minute. Actually, why don't you go to all those Antifa freaks and tell them they're not allowed to wear masks anymore because that's too much like ICE. Again, she's telling him the fact that you're driving this vehicle. I can't help the vehicle that I'm renting.
Well, you can. You go rent something.
You can go rent someone else
I mean, if
or rent something else.
you're part of the media.
That's not how it works.
This is
Are you going to pay for it? You're going to pay for me to upgrade to get a different vehicle?
my business.
I know. This
It's
is
my
not how it works. So anyhow, I hope you guys understand. Not here to
He
cause
was
any
here
problem.
with a video camera yesterday. I did see another vehicle.
I mean, the guy's just there doing his job to document what's going on. And the fact that he is driving an SUV, they are shaming him for it
With them, but
and accosting him and confronting him, being confrontational with him. I mean, this is like Ned Flanders. He's the nicest dude.
I did see him with a camera.
Press badge when folks are talking on the side?
No. I told them I was with the media.
Okay.
And when people get irate with me, I have no choice to just roll the window.
I think you gotta understand that people were kidnapped.
It wasn't yesterday, because that's what we did the story on.
Sorry.
Let's just wrap this up, okay?
It was helpful. I'm just saying.
Yeah, that's
You
fine.
guys, the first time.
Let's just wrap this up so we don't,
Isn't this ridiculous? The guy is doing his job, minding his own business, and the fact that he's driving an SUV, they demand, where are your papers? This is the very thing they are protesting. I mean, how is the irony lost? It's because they're just not very smart. They're blinded by uninformed emotion. The law is on the side of ICE. These are federal laws. You can't be here illegally, and if you are, they have the right to detain you, pick you up, and send you back and deport you. This guy is minding his own business, and the mere fact, the audacity. I mean, they said to him, you just got to understand, that, this is just looks bad because you're in this vehicle, and, that's just like, aren't you like sensitive to what's going on here? And you're driving this SUV, like, what are you like? Are you not even thinking about our feelings here? That when we see this, like, it triggers us and we think, oh my gosh, is this someone from ICE? Because they're the only ones that drive SUVs. You triggered my SUV phobia. Oh my gosh. I mean, that's how ridiculous this is. I'm making fun of them, to entertain you to an extent, but it's really like, that's not far. I mean, I think that's accurate. I mean, I'm trying to, be facetious, but it's actually not really working because that's who these people actually are. They're a freaking meme. That's what they are. They're an SNL skit because the hypocrisy and the irony is totally lost on them because, again, they're blinded by misinformed emotion. They're totally emotional. Were they emotional back when Barack Obama was doing this? They were not. Barack Obama asked, since he's deporting 1,000 illegals per day, will he at least consider unilaterally freezing deportations for the parents of these DACA kids, deferred action kids? Obama's response, no, that's not an option. It's called, I don't know, a law. Even Obama understands this.
As time goes on, 1,000 deportations on average a day. People are wondering, and our Twitter feeds and Facebook feeds, that's the question everybody asks. Won't you at least consider unilaterally freezing deportations for the parents of deferred action kids?
Yeah. Here's the problem that I have, Jose, and I've said this consistently. My job in the executive branch is supposed to be to carry out the laws that are passed. Congress has said, here's the law when it comes to those who are undocumented, and they allocate a whole bunch of money for enforcement. And what I have been able to do is to make a legal argument that I think is absolutely right, which is that given the resources we have, we can't do everything that Congress has asked us to do. What we can do is then carve out the DREAM Act folks, saying young people who have basically grown up here are Americans that we should welcome. We're not going to have them operate under a cloud, under a shadow. But if we start broadening that, then essentially I would be ignoring the law.
I would be ignoring the law. Can't do it. Can't do it. Can't ignore the law. Wouldn't be good. Wouldn't be good. Can't do it.
In a way that I think would be very difficult to defend legally. So that's not an option.
That's not an option. I can't break the law. You understand this, leftists? You understand this, libs? Obama did, but you don't. But see, they try to deflect and say, yeah, but, the way ICE is acting. ICE, you wouldn't even know about ICE if it weren't for all these obstructionists blowing their whistles. ICE is here, making these videos, getting in their way, trying to run them over and getting killed, unfortunately. You wouldn't know anything about it if these people weren't creating chaos. What's interesting is something changed in the Democrat Party. Back in 2015, Bernie Sanders, America, was asked about illegal immigration. See, at one time, I told you this, years ago, apparently illegal immigration was a Republican thing because it was cheap labor for all their evil capitalistic ways. And so Democrats used to fight against illegal immigration because they didn't want the Republicans getting rich. And the old Republican guard did play into that. They did. Back in the 90s, early 2000s, that's changed dramatically. But back in 2015, Bernie Sanders is asked about this and says, no, that's a Koch brothers proposal. Open borders. It would make everyone in America poorer, and right-wing people would love an open border because of all kinds of people they could bring in to work for $2 to $3 an hour. This is 2015. No, open border is a bad idea. That's Koch brothers. Koch brothers are big donors. They donate to a lot of different political causes, and I'll leave it at that. So the interesting thing, though, is the open borders idea actually is it's a New World Order UN initiative. No sovereign countries. They don't want sovereign countries. They want one world government. They do. It's in it's in their strategic plan. You can go find it. But they see sovereign countries as a threat to harmony, a threat to unity, a threat to efficiency. They don't like it. And so, of course, part of the agenda is to advocate for open borders. Well, it seems back in 2015, at least Bernie Sanders got that. Before I play the clip, let me play this from Joseph. Says, comment there, the left thinks feelings need to be enforced instead of logic. Instead of logic, it is nuts. Yeah, you're exactly right, Joseph. A couple other comments. This old vet over on Rumble says, I have no sympathy for illegals, and that video way back of them stealing the FBI stuff was not AI generated. He deals with AI every day, and that ICE is just doing their job. Bree also says, I've been here since day one. I'm so excited for you. Yes, Bree has been here since day one. There's a few of you that have been here for a while, but I don't know if anybody's been here as long as Bree. Back to the TikTok days and fighting that censorship every day. All right, let's hear from Bernie.
Open borders.
Open
borders. That's a Koch brothers proposal. The idea, of course, I mean, that's a right-wing proposal which says essentially there is no United States.
But it would make a lot of global poor richer, wouldn't it?
And it'd make everybody in America poor. Then you're doing away with the concept of a nation state. And I don't think there's any country in the world which believes in that. If you believe in it.
Boy, was he wrong, wasn't he? No country that believes in that. I mean, what this guy, 5 years later, They basically just they literally cut the fence down and ushered people in.
Nation state, or in a country called.
And by they, I mean Democrats. No, that I've never heard of any Republican in the last 15 years. It could have happened before that. I don't remember it, but I certainly don't remember it in recent times. Any Republican ever advocating for open borders. See, they had this open border and people were coming in. They weren't coming in like they had been, and you didn't see the large percentage of them be violent criminals. Okay, so a lot changed during the Biden years because of the numbers, the vast amount of numbers, the number of people that came in. Before that, though, especially like in the Bush years, Clinton years, I mean, people came in and sort of everybody was saying they wanted to solve the problem, but no one ever did, because they did have these big companies that were employing illegal immigrants and paying a fraction of the cost that continued to lobby that they don't actually solve it. And this went on. I mean, this has gone on for decades through Republicans and Democrats. I mean, Bernie's trying to say it's a Republican thing. Both sides have been sort of looking the other way, pretending to want to try solve it, but they haven't. But again, I've while that's the case, I've never heard a Republican actually say they advocate for open borders. That's certainly taking it up about 10 notches. But anyway, he's trying to paint this as a Republican thing. Now, until President Trump came along and actually tried to solve it. I mean, that's why there's so much upheaval around this, because who stands to be rich and who stands to get votes because of mass illegal immigration. And people say, well, they can't vote. Yeah, in some states they can. They're given voter registrations when they get a driver's license, which begs the question, why are illegal immigrants getting driver's licenses, right? But even if you say, no, they can't vote. Okay, all right, let's pretend that's true for a moment. They are counted in the census. They are counted in the census as population, which determines the congressional representation in Congress from that state. So if your state grows in population, you get more representatives to the House of Representatives, which then allows you to enact your agenda. And that is precisely what Democrats somewhere along the line determined was a good strategy.
United States or UK or Denmark or any other country. You have an obligation, in my view, to do everything we can to help poor people. What right-wing people in this country would love is an open border policy. Bring in all kinds of people who work for $2 or $3 an hour. That would be great for them. I don't believe in that. I think we have to raise wages in this country. I think we have to do everything that we can to create the millions of jobs. Open.
All right, so what happened to Bernie? I mean, you don't hear him out there saying that now. I mean, he would be making too much sense. He'd be like Fetterman if he were out there saying that now. It's a right-wing. It's a right-wing point of view. Open borders. That would make for $3 an hour. Oh, that would be terrible. Thanks, Bernie. So, controlled immigration, net negative immigration, hasn't happened in a long time, but it is happening now under Trump.
More immigrants than it lost. This chart shows net migration over time under several different administrations. No matter who was the president, the United States had a net positive migration of immigrants. And you can see this.
I mean, look what happened during the Biden years. And I would say, I mean, these are just who we know about. I think the numbers are far larger, but let's just take these numbers at face value. And you're looking at around 10 million illegal immigrants that came in during the Biden years.
Spike during the years of the Biden presidency. Now that is changing under President Trump. New estimates show the United States lost more immigrants than it gained in 2025. And that is the first time it's happened in about a half a century, in part because of self-deportations. DHS says nearly 2 million people have self-deported since January of last year. So with this drastic drop, what are the benefits? Are there benefits to Americans? Yes. Let's start with security.
So that negative net immigration. And then you got 2 million self-deportations. These are the most efficient, effective deportations, which if people leave, they get money. They get money to leave, and they are eligible for reentry as a legal immigrant. If you get detained, if you get deported, you're not eligible anymore. So for those people that are thinking clearly, they're like, well, we better go. We're going to get money. We need to get out of here, and we can figure out a way to get back. So even though we're paying them money to leave, at one time it was $1,000. I'd heard maybe it was more. It's still way cheaper for us to do that. And it can scale so much faster than these ICE agents and Customs and Border Enforcement, because we just don't have enough people. And also, the radical leftists are slowing it all down. But the economic effects of all this, the safety effects, cannot be ignored.
Just says 70% of ICE arrests have criminal histories in the United States. So that means our streets are safer. Here's a specific example, one you heard about in the news for quite some time, and now again, it's quiet. Fentanyl. Why? Drug overdose deaths from synthetic opioids, which we know come from China and Mexico, have dropped from almost 80,000 to below 50,000 in the past year and a half. There are also economic benefits to the changes in migration. Workers are getting a boost. Last year, there were job gains of 2 million for native-born American workers. For foreign workers, the number is 383,000. So what are the other benefits that Americans can expect going forward when it...
All right, so they don't get into that in the clip, but native-born jobs gains 2 million, foreign-born 383,000, and that is a huge difference. So when you look at the jobs market, it is being corrected organically and in a healthy manner, because we are getting rid of all these federal jobs, which just comes out of the pocket of the American people. It's inefficient. It's bloat. We don't need it. If they'd figure out a way to truly root out all this fraud and cut that, we'd save money. But the federal government jobs are not part of the economy as much as they were either. Yet we're still adding 2 million in net gain for native born, which is good. Americans are getting back to work. But you also have to think about things like the housing market. When you have all of these illegal immigrants taking up the rentals out there, it drives rent up because of the demand, and it keeps the supply used up to where people don't have access. And so we're seeing people living with parents more and more. So it all works together in a positive way. Also, all the crime, the traffic problems, it's just things that don't need to happen. I mean, there's just so many benefits from doing this the right way. We talked earlier about Bernie Sanders, and if he was actually talking like he did in 2015 here in 2026, we would say, wow, that guy's making sense. Kind of like we're doing with John Fetterman.
Right, skyrocketing, and it's like, that's unsustainable. When you reach almost 300,000 people, that's unsustainable. And we need to, as a Democrat, right, it shouldn't be unreasonable to want to secure our border and do it in that way. And now let's also talk about ICE. Now, absolutely, again, what happened in Minneapolis was absolutely tragic. And then now, if you think, now this is from the Washington Post, this is the latest statistics. These are people that ICE now are, it's like now 67% have criminal charges, pending ones, or that. So that's more than right, 2/3. The people now there are some people that aren't involved in any kinds of illegal things, but so me, I think two things can be true. Round up all the criminals, deport them. They shouldn't have ever been here, and they definitely have to go. And now right, I don't want to see more and more things happening in Minneapolis now too. So two things must be true. And I strongly reject the extreme on either side, about this now. So we must be true. And, I watched you earlier in your show. You just pointed out President Obama deported, millions of people, and there wasn't having the same kind of outrage here, here is from Democrats.
Exactly. The guy who wears hoodies and had a stroke is making way more sense than any of his colleagues on the Democrat side. I asked John Fetterman face-to-face in the Washington, D.C. Reagan Airport why. This was back a year ago next month when I went to CPAC. I ran into him. I think I've told this story before. Ran into him in the bathroom first. Yeah. I didn't run into him, literally. I was using the facilities, and I heard someone say, is that a senator or something like that? And I looked over, and I saw this big, tall, bald guy. He went into a stall for a little bit, came out, didn't wash his hands. I'm just telling you what I saw, okay? So then we ran into each other as we were exiting. I didn't chase him down. I was just walking and exiting one of those airlock doors and trying to figure it out. Like, what the? You had to wait till the next person, And I hear this voice from behind me. I never really understood how those things are supposed to work. Like, what? I turn around, and this dude's face is right there. I'm like, oh. And I asked him, I said, why? Why are Democrats resisting saving money and rooting out fraud? Because that was a big part of, all the Doge protests and ridiculousness around that. He just shrugged. I don't know. Like I said, you should, he was going one way, I was going on. So you should get your colleagues on your side. Keep fighting the fight and convince them. Oh, okay. Just kind of walked off. But I wonder, is it because he had the stroke, it deprogrammed the stupid part of a liberal brain that makes them unable to reason and critically think and to develop logic? I mean, maybe that's the block that a liberal mind had that a liberal mind has against that. Whatever's blocking it in a liberal mind, maybe his stroke destroyed that part that blocks it, and now he's able to actually think critically, think freely, think logically, remove emotion. I mean, maybe that's what happened. I don't know. It's kind of weird that the guy makes more and more and more sense as time goes on. I didn't have that on my bingo card. I made fun of the guy a lot with a lot of videos because, his hoodies and all the goofy stuff he was doing and the fact that he won the freaking race and he was like trying to recover from a stroke. I mean, I thought it was irresponsible for people to even push him into running for office when his health was so bad. But I'll tell you, he's doing a lot better now. The Democrats have tried to go after him. And all he's doing is just speaking the truth, making sense, and they've tried to blacklist this guy. Gaetano says they all just need to have strokes. That's the solution. Make an appointment for a stroke today so you can think clearly. Says if they all have strokes, we'll fix the country fast. You may be onto something, Gaetano. Figure out how to safely give someone a stroke and remove the liberal idiocy gene that exists in some people or whatever it happens to be. All right, so Nick Shirley has uncovered even more fraud in Minnesota, right? We told you it was the tip of the iceberg, and that's proving to be true. We're going to bring you that as well as a direct question to Ilhan Omar about the fraud that's going on in her state, and the curious question as to how her net worth has increased dramatically in such a short period of time when all this fraud's going on. All that and more coming up. You're watching the Ike Wingate Show. Back after this. didn't see you there. Well, just hanging out on the farm here. You know, one thing I was thinking about this morning is, when's the next crisis going to hit? It's not really a matter of if, it's just a matter of when. And we really can't rely on the government to take care of a shortage or something like that. We just got to take care of ourselves. You remember back in COVID, you tried to go to the store and everything was gone? Well, you can't risk that kind of thing. That's why I suggest My Patriot Supply. You can go to preparewithike.com and get your 4-week emergency food kit. Save $50 when you use my URL. Again, it is preparewithike.com. It's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when. And the question is, when it does happen, will your family eat? Make sure there's no question about it. Take action now. Save $50, 4-week emergency food kit, preparewithike.com. Fourscore and 7 years ago, there used to be men in this country. Now this country's full of a bunch of weenie men. You think about all the stuff that's in the water, plastics, microplastics, there's estrogen everywhere. In fact, compared to 100 years ago, men have half the testosterone that they used to. Look, it's not like getting shot in the back of the head. All you need to do is take chalk once every day, and you can boost your testosterone for fun things that require your energy, like working out or playing sports or actually spending time with your kids. I wish I could do that, but I can't because I'm dead. But if I were alive, I would take chalk. The Patriots at Chalk combine the most powerful herbal extracts, so it's all natural, giving you that lift that you need. George, come spot me.
Well, Abe, if I too were alive, I'd gladly spot you.
It's time to boost your testosterone to levels not seen since 1776 or 1860 or 1864, whatever. But it's herbal. It's natural. It's made in the USA. It's been clinically studied to boost testosterone. We're talking about chalk. Okay? Stop being all weird with this trends and everything else. We didn't have that back in my day. We had real men. It's time to get boosted back to those levels when men were men and women were women and there wasn't anything in between. Right, Mary?
Yes, Lincoln.
That's right. Get chalk. IkeWingate.com. Get chalk. If you want to be like me, get chalk. Except for the dead part. Okay. IkeWingate.com.
Hey there! Tired of watching your subscription costs climb higher and higher? With Q Broadcast, you get more for less. All your favorite channels and content bundled into one unbeatable package. No contracts, no hidden fees, just simple, affordable streaming. Say goodbye to overpriced services and hello to a new era of entertainment. This is streaming the way it should be. Q Broadcast, this changes everything.
You can sign up for Q Streaming today at IkeWingate.com. Just click Get Q Streaming to start streaming tons of channels, video on demand, even pay-per-view, all for the same price. It's all included. This is a Christian conservative-owned company that does not hate your values. Stop giving money to the cabal of big tech. Support companies that support your values. Right now at IkeWingate.com, just click Get Q Streaming.
This is where lies go to die. Now back to the Ike Wingate Show.
All right, welcome back in, friends. So glad you are here. Help us out in the algorithm by giving us a thumbs up and repost the live. That'll help us get the word out. That helps us then be presented to additional viewers maybe that don't know about the show. That helps us grow our audience. If you're not following me on X, please follow me on X right now. Go over to X and hit the follow button. My username is Ike Wingate. And that will help to increase our followers. I'm trying to get over 4,000 followers. Please help me with that. It'll also make sure that you are in the know when we have some announcements coming up next week and then beyond. So go over right now and follow me on X at Ike Wingate and on Instagram at Ike Wingate. I believe that's my username. Let me make sure that's right. Yeah. Ike Wingate. So IKEWingate. It's all one word. If you want to help us cover our hard costs to bring you this broadcast, which includes our technology and subscriptions to do so, you can contribute right now, $5, $10, $20 using Cash App or Venmo. And you can do that at IkeReport.com. That's where our Cash App and our Venmo direct links are set up, and you can contribute there, Cash App or Venmo at IkeReport.com, or in the chat on Rumble. They allow you to make a contribution. Now, we would appreciate that. We certainly still have hard costs, despite what's coming. We still have hard costs, so we could use your help. All right, Bree is on YouTube. Why do lefties choose to waste their time watching a show they hate and commenting on the thread? It's so dumb. Don't they have anything better to do? I've never figured that out. It's a great question, Bree. Why do the trolls hang out for hours watching a show just to argue with it rather than going and doing something they enjoy or that's productive? Oh, it's because they're freaking losers. That's why. And they have nothing better to do. Otherwise, what other explanation is there? If they had a life and they had a purpose and they had something to do and they didn't hate their life so much, they wouldn't be sitting in the chat on a program that they don't agree with thinking they're doing something productive. It does nothing. The only thing you do, and I will say this, and maybe I shouldn't, but the only thing that it does is it actually helps our numbers. So the very thing you think you're doing, you ain't doing. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, I got someone in here trying to ratio me. Look at you. Who are you anyway? Well, I'm doing something that matters. I'm putting truth out there and communicating effectively, and there are a lot of people that enjoy it. I'm doing my part to spread the truth and to shine light on the lies. That's what I'm doing. You can go start your own show and hang out and do whatever you want to do, but this is mine, and I'm doing it. I'm not talking about it. I'm doing it. I'm doing my part, okay? And thankfully, because we have not relented, we have stayed the course, although it's been rocky. It seems to have turned out very well. And I hope to be able to announce that next week. I hope you're here discovering me. Just the name itself, discovering me. I hope you are discovering yourself, but not too often. All right, let's go into this scandal of continuing to uncover fraud in Minnesota, a $9 billion fraud scandal. Now, this is Ilhan Omar being asked by Lindell TV about the $9 billion fraud. Tells the reporter to get her head examined. Your brain has been fried. Reporter says, I'm sorry, I couldn't go to the learning centers that you are running over there in Minnesota, and then maybe I would be smart like you. And what is this gal's name? I met her in D.C. She works for Lindell TV. I can't recall her name at this exact moment, but that's who this reporter is. Anyway, take a look.
Congresswoman Omar, yesterday you told me to please read when I asked you about the $9 billion fraud that you denied is happening, but I have it right here. I read. Look, Chairman Comer opens hearing on massive fraud scandal, $9 billion.
That's what Comer believes because he's as smart as you are.
It's not just Comer. It's Scott Besson. It's federal prosecutors. It's House Oversight. And
no
it's Minnesota State Reps.
You can have that, ma'am. I think you need to get examined because your brain has been fried in some way, and it's not okay. I really hope you get some help. You and the Republicans here. Take care, okay, ma'am?
I'm sorry, I couldn't go to the learning centers that you're running over in Minnesota, but I think you should perhaps read what's actually.
One of those learning centers.
I need one of those learning centers.
Let's see it.
Congresswoman Omar, yesterday.
All right. She needs one of those learning centers, those Leering centers, actually. You got to say it right. I cannot remember this gal's name. It's going to drive me nuts. I know the other gal's Cara Castronova, but I can't. This is just going to drive me crazy. Why can't I let these things go? Anyway, I don't recall. No. Anyway, I just have to let it go. It's going to drive me crazy. Okay. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Anyway, Ilhan Omar tells her that her head needs to be examined. She's not smart enough. Why is there even a question? You're going to diminish that it's even happening? We know that it's happening. People have been prosecuted already as part of fraud in Minnesota. And so she's saying that anyone that believes that is just dumb. Sounds like a weak deflection, if you ask me. Let's look very quickly to Renee Good, her lover, Rebecca Good's father, I guess, is who this is. He went on CNN and did not give them the answers they want. Of course, Renee Good, shot by an ICE officer. Take a look.
No, nothing about charges or anything that, just an investigation into what happened in terms of the ICE agents' actions. But they were, according to the prosecutors resigning today, pressuring them to investigate Renee's actions and Becca, her wife's actions. How do you feel about all that?
Well, I'm not blaming anybody. I mean, it's a hard situation all the way around. It's hard for for everybody involved. I mean, the ICE agent, at first I didn't see the footage where, he was actually, he was actually being ran. I mean, I seen the bump of the car hitting his legs. And so in a flash like that, it's hard to say how you would react. From my understanding that he had been through that before, maybe dragged or something. And so, like I said, it's just a hard situation for everybody. Becca, she's a great person as well. I mean, I don't have any many enemies. I love everybody. And that's what the Bible tells us, love our neighbors as we love ourselves. But, I think there's some bad choices. And the word says, for the wrath of God will come upon the children of disobedience. And, I don't blame ICE. I don't blame Rebecca. I don't blame Renee. I just wish that, if we're walking the Spirit of God, I don't think she would have been there. That's the way I look at it.
If they were walking in the Spirit of God, they wouldn't have been there. Doesn't place blame, but believes that what they were doing was not in the Spirit of God. That is Allison Steinberg. That is the name of that reporter. Okay. All right. For some reason, couldn't remember that name. Okay, so that guy did not give the answer that they wanted. Did I actually show that on the screen? Did I show it on the screen? I'm sorry, I was distracted. But anyway, that's what it looked like. Okay, just so you know, it's real. Some people out here say everything we're doing here is fake propaganda using AI. All right. Speaking of that, I actually assumed this was AI. Jim Ferguson says, Iran just sent this message the world cannot ignore. Iranian state television aired an image of President Trump with the Persian caption, "This time it won't miss." And this is the image of President Trump after he was nearly killed, blood on the ear and the side of the face. And the image this time, it won't miss. They aired this on Iranian state television. Jim Ferguson says this isn't random or satire. It's a state-run broadcast signaling hostility toward the president of the United States in a moment when Iran is crushing street protests, jamming the internet, raiding hospitals, losing control at home. The regime chose to put Trump's face on screen and pair it with a phrase that in Persian means a shot hitting its target. Jim Ferguson says this is how regimes speak when they are afraid. This is how they threaten when they are cornered, and this is how history starts to move very fast. The Ayatollah's grip is slipping, the people are rising, and now the regime has made it personal. The world is watching. I mean, the airspace over Iran was clear last night. All the people, on X and otherwise were saying, oh, it's about to happen. We're about to do something in Iran. It didn't, but that doesn't mean it won't. And we will see as we continue to get images out of the country of Iran, killing, literally picking off protesters with snipers one by one, and death tolls in the thousands. 12,000 is believed to be a conservative number, up to 20,000 or more. And basically, they don't want people protesting the failed policies of the Ayatollah and the IRGC, the fact that their resources are diminished, their dollar is worth, their currency is worth nothing, and it's not getting any better. They've had enough. The people have had enough. All right. So that's certainly an active story to keep an eye on. Now let's look at what Kamala has been doing. Kamala Harris just bought an $8 million Malibu dream house. Her mansion has a spa bathroom. Who doesn't want one of those? And a private putting green. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Kamala bankrupted the DNC, made the party pay off her debt, and wrote a book about losing. Now is splurging millions on a mansion. Not a great look. Jesse Waters talked about that last night.
An $8 million Barbie Malibu dream house. Here are the highlights. Indoor-outdoor living, a spa bathroom with soaking tub, built-in speakers everywhere, perfect for Doug's spin class. Backyard gets even better. Full kitchen, private putting green, and of course, a big, beautiful fire pit. Because Malibu definitely needs more fires. It's been burnt to a crisp thanks to Democrats, but not Kamala's new neighborhood. It's untouched. Nice going. So Kamala squandered $2 billion in donor money, didn't win a single state, made the DNC pay off her debt, wrote a gossip book and blamed everyone else for her losing, and then splurged $8 million on a Malibu mansion. Not a great look. Mamala just bought an $8 million.
Mamala. Yeah, I guess, that's the American dream. Do all the wrong things, fail again and again, and you too can afford a Malibu Beach Barbie mansion. It just doesn't look good right now with the timing. I mean, I don't fault people for buying a house they want with luxuries as long as they can afford it, but why the heck should Kamala Harris experience a windfall from doing nothing right? That's not the American dream, and it sure doesn't look good after she's burned down the Democrat Party. What has she ever made? She's a lifelong politician. She's never had a real job in her life. Yet she's amassed enough money to buy that kind of mansion. I mean, I'm telling you, these government jobs can't make someone independently wealthy unless they do something, I guess, like write a book or insider trading, which Congress is cracking down on that. Hopefully that is coming to an end soon. All right, so there was a hearing that went on with the Senate and doctors talking about men and women and the difference. And this doctor apparently thinks that it's possible for men to get pregnant.
Why don't we just start there? Dr. Verma, I wasn't sure I understood your answer to Senator Moody a moment ago. Do you think that men can get pregnant?
I hesitated there because I wasn't sure where the conversation was going or what the goal was. I mean, I do take care of patients with different identities. I take care of many women. I take care of people with different identities. And so that's where I paused. I think yeah, I wasn't sure where you were going with that.
Well, the goal is just the truth. So can men get pregnant?
Again, the reason I paused there is I'm not really sure what the goal of the question
The goal is just to establish a
The reason I paused, I mean, could this person be even more annoying than she already is? I mean, this is like an SNL skit.
biological reality. You just said a moment ago that science and evidence should control, not politics. So let's just test that proposition. Can men get pregnant?
I take care of people with many identities, but
Can men get pregnant?
Just answer the freaking question. It's a simple yes or no. Bree says, I got so freaking frustrated listening to this doctor. I literally wanted to just shake her. Yeah. For those of you that haven't seen it, get ready. You're going to feel just like Bree did yesterday.
Women that can get pregnant. I do take care of people that don't identify as women. That
Can men get pregnant?
again, as I'm saying,
Let me just remind you what you testified to a moment ago. Science and evidence should control, not politics. So can men get pregnant? You're a doctor, I think.
science and evidence should guide medicine.
Do science and evidence tell us that men can get pregnant? Biological men, can they get pregnant?
I also think yes, no questions like this are a political tool. And
No, yes, no questions are about the truth, doctor. Let's not make a mockery of this proceeding.
I mean, Senator Hawley just eviscerated this gal. I mean, he did a masterful job. But it just continues on and on. I mean, this is a 5-minute clip. He asked her, I believe, at least 12 times.
This is about science and evidence. And I'm asking you, the United States Supreme Court just heard arguments yesterday at great length on this question. This is not a hypothetical question. This is not theoretical. It affects real people in their real lives. And you're here as an expert, called by the other side as an expert. And you've been telling us that you follow, right, you're a doctor, and you follow the science and the evidence. So I just want to know, based on the science, can men get pregnant? That's a yes or no question.
Yes or no question. Freebird says, I think the problem was he should have said biological man. Okay, so he is supposed to qualify the type of man he's asking about, and then that would get him the question answered. I mean, Freebird, I don't hold this against you, but that's precisely the problem. There's only one kind of man. They have penises. That's a man. There's no such thing as a biological man. That's what a man is, a biological man. There's no reason to qualify it with a word because there isn't any other kind of man, unless you're going to add an adjective in front of it, like a weenie man or, a lady man or something like that. That's not an actual man. There's no reason to qualify the word men because there is only one definition, and it includes the fact that they are biologically a male. There's no reason to qualify it. That's the problem. We have given ground to this insanity and used words like cisgender and cis male and cis female. Bullcrap. Those are made up terms. They have no bearing in reality. And by playing the game with these nut jobs, we have granted credibility and significance in the process. Freebird agrees 100%. Yeah, so I get it. Yeah. I'm sure that's why she wasn't. I don't want to offend any of the trans men out there, but reality is a man is a man. There's no qualifiers of what it biologically means or medically or scientifically means to be a man. There isn't. And so liberal lunatics like this won't answer a question as simple as, can men get pregnant?
It really is, I think.
I think you're trying to reduce the complexity of a lot.
I'm not. I'm trying to get, it's not complex. I'm trying to get to an answer, and I'm trying to test, frankly, your veracity.
I think you're reducing the complexity. I mean, what is this chick a doctor of? Valley Girl stupidity or something? Like, she sounds like, who would go to her as I don't know what kind of doctor she is. But my gosh, how far into the consultation do you realize, holy crap, I booked an appointment with a freaking nut job?
As a medical professional and as a scientist, can men get pregnant?
I think you're also conflating
This is
male
extraordinary.
female with
No, I'm not conflating male and female. They're two different things. There's biological men and there's biological women. And I want to know, can men get pregnant?
what you were talking about is biological.
You're not going to answer my question. it sounds like.
Biological males.
This isn't hard, doctor. Can men get pregnant? Yes or no?
I would be more than happy to have a conversation with you that is not coming from a place of trying to be polarized and
Wow. I mean, she is so afraid of telling the truth. So afraid.
I'm not trying to be polarizing. I'm trying to ask. I think it is extraordinary that we are here in a hearing about science and about women. And for the record, it's women who get pregnant, not men.
it also
We are here about the safety of women and science that shows
Of the such as the Iraq and places like that. You remember that beauty queen who didn't know the question? I mean, this is what we're dealing with here. And this is a so-called doctor in a Senate hearing testifying and can't even answer the freaking question. MP says she's a moron. Yeah. Sometimes people are smart and have degrees next to their name, but they're flat out idiots. This old vet over on Rumble hasn't made it into. Here we go. Male or female, for freak's sake, wasn't even debated 10 years ago. I know. This is where we're at. You literally, I mean, would you say if you saw this clip 10 years ago, this doctor is, has a mental problem? I mean, this doctor is mentally challenged.
that this abortion drug causes adverse health events in 11% of cases. That's 22 times greater than the FDA label, another fact you haven't acknowledged. And yet you won't even acknowledge the basic reality that biological men don't get pregnant. There's a difference between biological men and biological women. I don't know how we can take you seriously and your claims to be a person of science if you won't level with this on this basic issue. I thought we were past all of this, frankly. I can't believe we're still here talking about this.
Okay, agreed. This old vet says 10 years ago, she would have lost her license. Exactly. If this happened 10 years ago, I mean, 10, 15 years ago, people that were transitioning and trans and all that stuff, I mean, they were considered mentally ill. I mean, this is the way it's been for a long time. And then somebody discovered, oh, no, actually, let's continue to diminish the very truth of what God declared, male and female. Let's continue to diminish that. I mean, that's really what it's all about. I mean, certainly people are making a lot of money in this process with the transition process and the hormones and the blah, 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 blah. I mean, the statistics are not good of the success rate long term for these people. And unfortunately, I sympathize with these people that are convinced that they were born in the wrong body. That's a horrible thing to wrestle with and to be haunted by. But it's a lie. It's not true. And anyone who has told you that or enabled you in that pursuit is not your friend. They don't love you. And it's sad. And the success rate is not good. But long term, I mean, you got to stay on these things for a long time. I mean, think about there's so many people that have detransitioned and so many people that end up suicidal. Not to mention violent. I mean, we see so many of these attacks and violent acts being carried out by people who are non-binary, trans, etc. It's totally sad. It's horrible. And a few years ago, it was considered a mental illness. And it still should be considered a mental illness. But certainly, a lot of the reason behind this change is the money to be made, but also there are forces at work that we cannot see that want to diminish what's right before our very eyes, what's true and what's not. And what's true is that there are two genders, male and female. That is what God decreed. And people go, well, wait a minute, not everybody believes in God. Well, okay, fine, but it doesn't mean that God is any less correct. just because you don't believe it. If you want to tell me it all happened by an accident, well, good luck proving that. But at the heart of it is a very, very dark agenda to diminish everything that God has said, to play God yourself. You are your own God, and it's to diminish and dilute and to destroy a country that has faith in God. If you can do that, you have a people that you can manipulate to the core. It's called Marxism, where government is now your God. You can't manipulate people of faith. You can't. I mean, to an extent you can, but not wholly, completely. Holy is in W-H-O-L-L-Y, not H-O-L-Y. And so the very existence of faith in God and Christ is a threat to power. It's a threat to those that want to control you. And Marxism is totally anti-God, totally anti-faith, and it is intentional in that is to make the state God, the government God, and then everything that you get comes from the government. Prosperity is from the government. Your food is from the government. You think that ends up well? It doesn't, historically. I mean, just look at Venezuela nationalizing the oil, and they freaking destroyed it and then made cocaine their mass export because they couldn't survive. And so government being God, in order to do that, you have to destroy all the tenets of truth that exist. And one of those tenets was very basic and understood and universally accepted, that there are two genders, male and female, and they've gone after that. Okay? It's a big part of it. All right, now let's look at the propaganda that's also part of Marxism, and CNN is definitely at the top of that list. Here's how CNN frames 6% inflation under Joe Biden. This is back in March of 2023, 6% inflation. Here's the headline. U.S. inflation is still high, but it's falling. Last month's consumer price index measured 6%, down from January's 6.4%. Hey, 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 things are looking up. The glass is half full. Interesting, though, when much better results have been produced under President Trump, say a headline from January 13th, CNN reported it like this. U.S. inflation remained at 2.7% in December, underscoring persistent cost of living challenges. Our life is horrible. If you watch Winnie the Pooh, the headline at the top is Tigger, and the headline at the bottom is Eeyore. Much better results. 2.7% inflation is not going down, and it's at a reasonable level, 2.7. I mean, they want the target at 2, but historically we've had, when we have 3% or less inflation, it's always been understood as reasonable and okay. You want it to just totally go away, but it's kind of, fact of life. And this is how CNN reports it. Under Joe Biden, 6% is good, but under President Trump, 2.7 is just showing just how much everything still costs. Propaganda. That's what it is. Propaganda. Think critically, get outside of your echo chamber, and recognize that there is an assault on your senses and your common sense. That is liberal media. But the right, the left is not the only one that has propaganda and insanity. It's on the right too. Okay? Fair and balanced here on the Ike Wingate Show. The right has their own nut jobs, and Candace Owens is the queen of them all. And every day that gets more and more evidence. She's now pushing this theory or this idea that Charlie Kirk was a time traveler and that he had agents like the Matrix monitoring him from childhood, and that he was killed because he tried to disturb the space-time continuum. Great Scott, Marty! Get the DeLorean! We got to go back into 1985 and retrieve Charlie Kirk. He wasn't born yet, but we'll wait around for 7 or 8 years and we'll be able to bring him back to the year 2025. All right. Well, that sounds great, Candace. Here's what she had to say.
Time traveler. He said, as I showed, why did Charlie think he was a time traveler? He said, as I showed you in earlier messages, that he was a time traveler and he had to find me. Is that just something people are saying to their homies in text messages? And again, not anything that I would have placed so much emphasis on back when he was saying it, but it came to fruition. The other parts, he did die young. Why did he think that him dying young was necessary in order to change things? He did die young. It is related to Turning Point USA. In some way or another, at the very least, we could all agree it's related to him speaking at a campus event for Turning Point USA. I'm totally occupied by this. I tell you, I read these messages and I'm going, what is this? What is reality, actually? And Charlie died. Yes, like I said, it was related to this organization.
What is reality? It ain't your show. Let me just say that.
And I think we would all agree that his death and the manner that they did it changed the world in ways that I don't think we can fully realize, or certainly not in a way that I can articulate. You just cannot pretend that all of this is one big unhappy coincidence. It's entirely plausible, I think plausible, that they knew something about Charlie. And that's why they had him marked and had him monitored and had him likely followed since he was young.
Literally, they must have been time travelers too, because they must have come from the future back to the early part of Charlie's life to keep him under control. Is that what happened? But yet somehow he broke out of the Matrix. He took the red pill.
And maybe they thought, like the agents think, that if they swarmed him and they stayed with him and they pretended to be his friend, that ultimately they could control Charlie and perhaps change an outcome. They could literally change an outcome.
This makes no sense. So apparently Charlie Kirk already lived and he was too effective. And so they had to have come back. They must have come from the future back in time from the beginning of Charlie Kirk's life to control him, to try to change the outcome. They try to change the outcome. Okay. All right. We're tracking.
Related to Charlie. So when for the first time in his life, because I do believe he was managed. I mean, I've already said I was handled. I didn't recognize that I had agents.
She had agents. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I understand it's entertaining to watch soap operas, right? Like you watch it and you're like, I'm not getting any smarter, but I have to know what happens to, Dr. So-and-so. What happened to his face? Or where did he go? Why did he disappear? And like you watch it because you get drawn in, right? I understand if people are drawn into this train wreck. But if you think this is actually true, something like Candace Owens had agents around her, let me tell you, this is total hogwash malarkey. Okay, there's people around you that want to influence you, that sort of want to use you. Hey, yeah, we ought to get her, talking about what we want to talk about, whatever that is. They lobby you. This happens to everybody in media. Everybody that has any kind of following. You get approached, hey, you ought to be talking about this, or hey, what do you think about this? They want to try to find, hey, can we find a mouthpiece to our cause? It happens. Okay, this is just part of it. These aren't agents. These aren't handlers. These aren't time traveling manipulators. That's not what they are. And certainly when you have a young talent, companies will put people around them to work with them, to help them develop their skills in a responsible way. Like, I'm all about free speech. I get it. But when you're working for a business, right? You have to keep business in mind. I mean, you can't just totally say, business be damned. I don't care. That doesn't mean you lie, but there are certain things where it's like, is this productive to harp on this or harp on that? Is it, is it changing anything? Or is it just about your own ego wanting to talk about it? Because what you're going to do if you go down this route, which you can't prove anything, you're you're going to, we're going to have all these advertisers drop. Okay. So you still have to keep in mind it's a business. And if you're going to cover something and you're going to expose something, you had better be right. Okay. So if you're just flippantly speaking out of turn and saying whatever comes to your mind, you're going to end up going out of business a lot of times. Because while some sponsors support some of what you do, when you go crazy and can't substantiate it and prove it, they're going to get uneasy. Okay. And so you just have to be responsible. It's just like anything you would do in your own job. You can't do everything that you feel like doing in any job without risk of blowback. And then you decide, is the blowback worth what I'm going to do? I mean, it's just like, risk assessment behavior that has to be done a lot of times in any job, right? Well, it's very likely that someone like Candace Owens and some of the organizations she's worked in has had people around her to help her be responsible. And you can say, well, yeah, they don't want to upset the corporate side. I mean, however you want to couch it. But my point is, they aren't agents. They aren't agents that are like from the big cabal of who knows. Everything she thinks is wrong in the world is Israel. Okay. So it's certainly not Mossad agents or agents of Israel that are sitting here to control her because she's just so effective in what she's saying. Let me tell you, everything that Candace Owens is saying right now is actually doing nothing but helping the cause against her. But this idea, you paint these things that people can't prove or disprove, and that's sort of what Candace Owens does. She makes these wild accusations that sound interesting, like Hollywood, that she can never actually prove it or disprove it. And saying that I was controlled, I was managed, I didn't even know that these people were. It's total bullcrap. It's not true. It does not happen. It happens in the movies, but it's not something that happens in reality. And if it does, it's absolutely obvious. The possibility of something like this happening is just ridiculous. Again, like I said, people want you to talk about their interests. They lobby you to be a mouthpiece for what they want and what they believe. That happens to everybody. It doesn't mean they're agents sitting here to control you.
And for the first time in his life, Charlie peeks his head up and starts to push back in a meaningful way. They couldn't stop him from becoming bigger. That seemed to be inevitable.
So the time travelers or whatever, the managing agents failed. He got so big they couldn't control it. Even though, they knew he was going to be something because didn't they have knowledge from the future? But they still were not able to head off the success of Charlie Kirk. Man, are we supposed to respect these agents that can't even do their job?
But they panicked. They seem to have panicked, right? This is just starting to happen within a year when Charlie's going like, hey, man, I don't actually think this. I don't actually believe this. And then he goes, you know what? Take the money. Take the money out of the organization. And they panicked. They freaked out. And their solution was, no. Just kill him. Just kill him. We can't have this.
She is bat crap crazy, my friends. I'm just telling you, she is. You don't have to believe me. Continue watching it. I don't think you're a bad person if you do. But I'm just telling you, you're wasting your time. You're wasting your time. She is continuing to spiral. It's not going to get better from here. But let me tell you what she's implying. She's implying that Israel and the Jewish state of people are the ones that are doing all this. She's implying that Charlie Kirk totally reversed on Israel and saw what the Jewish people were trying to do to him and they killed him. That's what she's implying here. Because there were conversations where Charlie Kirk was pushing back on certain things. He pushed back on people that didn't want Tucker Carlson to speak in an event. because of remarks he's made about Israel. And Charlie Kirk was, no, I'm a free speech guy. And they pushed back on him, and he's like, well, look, we're going to run this organization how we want. If you don't like it, you don't have to donate. He took a stand. Good for him. That doesn't mean the state of Israel and there's some organized effort to control Charlie Kirk that's goes to the very top. He was still a staunch defender of Israel, even though he didn't believe or agree with everything that Israel did. And I'm sorry, I think that's reasonable. I don't agree with everything my own country does. In fact, I don't trust any government. But Charlie Kirk was clear. This anti-Semitic, truly anti-Semitic sentiment that exists out there on the right as well, certainly on the left, but growing on the right, is demonic. Everything being the Jews' fault and Israel's fault is absurd, and he was clear about that. But Candace Owens wants to make it like, oh no, there's a big conspiracy. He was going against Israel and they took him out. I mean, that's what she's implying here, which is totally unfounded, completely irresponsible, and completely illogical and unrealistic. Apparently, this donor conversation had happened days before the event. You're telling me this donor was so connected and so embedded in the state of Israel and the Jewish mafia or whatever she thinks, and executed this plan to assassinate Charlie Kirk in a matter of days? No way. Not possible. Now, let me tell you what does happen in a nonprofit media organization, because I was an executive in one for years as part of the broadcast team. I'll tell you exactly what happens. Because when you're donor funded, now TPUSA was more diversified because they had other large revenue streams through products and some of the things that they offered. But in an organization I worked in, it was largely donor funded, nearly 100%. You live and die by your donors. And donors have opinions, especially when they have a lot of money and they donate a lot of money. They're successful in the quote unquote secular world. I worked in a nonprofit ministry, media ministry. And donors, they will flex on you. They will assert themselves. They will insert themselves and assert their power. They will tell you, this is what you need to do. Well, and a lot of times, leadership doesn't have the courage and backbone to say, that is not in line with our core values and our mission, and we're not going to do it. Rarely does that happen because people are afraid to lose the money. Charlie Kirk wasn't afraid. Donors throwing their weight around to get their way happens all the time in any nonprofit setting, all the time. It doesn't mean it was the Jews. It doesn't mean it was the Israel state. That's absurd. But if you just want to isolate it and look at that and, have no context of the broader nonprofit world, especially in media, and make it about Israel, that's completely irresponsible. But that's who Candace Owens is. She has no periphery. She looks right at what she wants it to be and offers no context or broader research. This is why she got burned with this guy she had on her show as a source, and he turned out to be a whack job who had defrauded people over and over and over with fake stories. She gets the information that she wants and presents none of the broader context and doesn't even vet the people. Or if she does, she overlooks the fact that they're completely nuts, which is totally irresponsible and it's deceitful. So let me tell you, Candace Owens is nuts. It's sad because at one time she was, I think, a really solid voice of truth and information. And Bree says we should pray for her. That's what we should do. I hope she'll come to her senses, because I'm unsure about where this train wreck ends up if something doesn't happen to correct the path that she's on. Time traveling. That's literally what she said. Please, will someone defend that? If you believe Candace Owens and you're still in there, then tell me why time traveling is believable. You know what I'm saying? Gaidano says there was a conversation 2 weeks before in the Hamptons, regarding taking Tucker off, not allowing him to speak. And I mean, that's just Charlie Kirk was always, hey, look, I'm a free speech guy. Now, there's been conflicting reports out of that meeting about how the conversation went. I don't know if we'll ever know the truth of that. But again, even if it was a knockdown, drag out thing, this idea that Israel orchestrated the assassination of Charlie Kirk is absurd. There is no evidence. There is no evidence. And if you think there is evidence, it's literally arriving at the conclusion and then looking in the rear view to rebuild the case to make it believable that you've arrived at the conclusion that you have. It's reconstructing the plane in midair. And I'm telling you, if Charlie Kirk were alive, he would absolutely abhor and detest what she is doing. There was a huge falling out. He wasn't invited to her wedding. He kept her at arm's length. He was trying to be nice. I think she had a crush on him or something. But they did not have some close relationship because Charlie Kirk had recognized she is a loose cannon. And by the way, she has a liberal history of doing crazy things before she, magically changed. Now, I'm not saying that's not possible, but she has a history of dramatic things in her past. Look her up. I'm not going to spend any more time on her. Let's talk a little bit about the economy before the end of the show. By the way, you can support us with your dollars by contributing via Cash App or Venmo at IkeReport.com, IkeReport.com. By the way, I will be on Newsmax on Friday morning at noon. Friday afternoon at noon Eastern. It's 11 a.m. my time, Friday, if you want to tune in for that. I'll also be on the Wendy Bell Common Sense program on Newsmax on Saturday afternoon. I believe that's at 3:30 Eastern, and then there's a replay of it on Sunday afternoon as well. Talking about the economy under President Trump, fewer Americans claiming unemployment. Let's see what CNBC had to say to that regard.
And finally, we're populating on claims under 200 on initial claims for the week of January 10th. That's 198,000. 198,000. Now, we have had some sub 200s, some of them revised away, but one still stands. That was last week in November when it was 192,000. And these numbers are getting very close to going back into kind of the Beatles era in terms of how low they are. And
the Beatles era. Okay, so this is unprecedented. This is historic. The fact that people are getting back to work, unemployment claims are going down. I think they'll continue to go down. And let me tell you, hold on. Strap in, my friends, because this economy is going to take off. We're already seeing all the indicators occurring. It's all coming together. You feel it at the pump. Last year, people made an average of $1,000 more. It doesn't mean that everything is where we want it to be. We want prices to at least hold steady. We don't want any increase in prices. We love to see some things coming down. Obviously, gas is coming down, and a lot of products are associated. Their price is relative to gas prices. So we will continue to see, hopefully, prices come down on those things that are variable, and hopefully the prices on other things don't increase as things settle out. The Supreme Court definitely does not need to rule against this tariff policy. That would not be good. That would throw a wrench in a lot of this stuff. But if they uphold it, then it's going to be a good thing, and we are going to see very, very positive gains economically, as a lot of these development deals, manufacturing deals, research and development continue to happen. That's a big deal. As those come to fruition and actually start breaking ground and, actually doing business. I just realized I neglected the Trump healthcare plan. Yeah, I got to make sure I cover that. We're also looking at healthcare coming down, prescription drugs coming down, favored nation status where nobody gets a better deal than us. And then you have this great healthcare plan that the White House has unveiled, and basically lowering drug prices, insurance premiums, holding big insurance companies accountable, and maximizing price transparency. They want to slash prescription drug prices even more by codifying the Trump administration's most favored nation deals. That needs to be codified into law, not just an executive order. We need it to be long-term. Also, advocating for allowing for more over-the-counter medicines, making more verified, safe pharmaceutical drugs available over the counter, which will also lower healthcare costs and increase consumer choice by strengthening price transparency. Also, on this great healthcare plan agenda is to lower insurance premiums, sending the money directly to the American people. Stop sending big insurance companies billions in extra taxpayer-funded subsidy payments, and instead send that money directly to eligible Americans to allow them to buy the health insurance of their choice. Another item is funding cost-sharing reduction programs. Fund a cost-sharing reduction program for healthcare plans, which would save taxpayers at least $36 billion and reduce the most common Obamacare premiums by over 10%, and then cut the kickback costs in the kickbacks from pharmacy benefit managers to the large brokerage middlemen that deceptively raise the cost of health insurance. Get rid of the middlemen. And then hold big insurance companies accountable by creating the plain English insurance standard, which would require insurance companies to publish rate and coverage comparisons upfront on their websites in plain English, not industry jargon, so consumers can make better insurance purchasing decisions. A couple more points here on this great healthcare plan that Trump is proposing. Publish costs of overhead versus claim payments. Require health insurance companies to publish the percentage of their revenues that are paid out to claims versus overhead costs and profits right on their websites. Oh, I would love to see that. And then display claim denial rates. Require health insurance insurers to publish the percentage of insurance claims they reject and average wait times for routine care on their websites. Loving it. Bop, 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 bop. And then finally, this could be one of my favorites, post prices on the wall. Require any healthcare provider or insurer who accepts either Medicare or Medicaid to publicly and prominently post their pricing and fees to avoid surprise medical bills. Yeah, actually put on there what it costs to have a toenail removed or whatever it is so people can make informed decisions. Maybe they hang on to that toenail a little longer until they can afford it instead of getting stuck in the middle of a large bill they weren't ready for a toenail. Anyway, that is the great healthcare plan that the White House is pushing out and lobbying Congress to get behind. And we need an actual big change. And hopefully they solve this problem or at least take a big chunk out of the issue because it is crippling so many Americans while insurance companies are getting rich. Okay. Before we end the show, you know what we got to do? We got to get today's Triggered Liberal.
It's time for today's Triggered Liberal.
Well, of course, it's another liberal white woman. DHS agents just listened to some middle-aged white liberal woman rant and then responded to her with, "Thank you for calling the ICE hotline. Please call again." This is from Nick Sorter, take a look at today's Triggered Liberal.
What is your name? Sir, tell me your name. This is unacceptable.
Okay.
Absolutely unacceptable. You should all be ashamed of yourselves. This is not appropriate. This is my country. I'm here legally. Okay. These people, you never ask for proof. You are a bad, evil person. You need to be expunged. You need to go to another country. You need to know what it looks like. Instead, you're pulling over innocent people, not asking for any ID and just hauling them off. You all should be ashamed. How do you go home to children, to friends, to family? Do you tell them what you do for a living? That you arrest people without cause? That you just pick them up, put them in a truck? Is that what you do? Are you proud of yourself for doing this? Are you absolutely proud?
Thank you for calling the ICE
hotline
for us.
Just say, thank you for calling the ICE hotline.
Are you proud of this? Are you proud? You are an idiot.
Thank you for letting us know.
You do not deserve to walk the face of this earth.
Whoa, got intense there. You need to be expunged. You do not deserve to walk the face of the earth. You don't deserve to live. Basically, she's saying they deserve to die. Completely reasonable, right?
None of you. You are fools. I did get a name. They took somebody out of that car. And yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Completely reasonable. Not triggered, not unhinged, not emotionally crippled or insane.
It's time for today's Triggered Liberal.
There we go, friends. That's it. That's going to do it for today's broadcast. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Repost, heart the post on X, do all the things. Make sure you're following me on X at Ike Wingate and on Instagram at Ike Wingate. And we'll be back with you next week with another show. Thank you so much for watching. God bless you. God bless America. And long live Charlie Kirk.
Rate, subscribe, and leave a review. It's how we get the word out amidst the chaos. Thanks for listening to The Ike Wingate Show.